Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today the topic of discussion is this. You've probably seen one of these before, even though this may look a bit different to what you've seen. So if you're wondering what is this that Badger's holding right now, it is an AAP-01 from Action Army, and that is a pistol. They look fairly similar in terms of design to this, but actually it's all polymer, does not have this kind of silencer front end, has a similar not quite as long barrel that comes out of it, and this is probably the, if not equal with the High Capper in terms of the most customizable pistol platform that you can get in airsoft. And the other amazing thing with this is the price of it out of the box. So this out of the box, if you were going to buy it, is $100. Now that can vary depending on where you're buying it from. It can be $90, it can be up to about $110, $115. But if you are looking to get into airsoft and you're like, hey, I want a secondary, I want a pistol that's going to work, it's going to perform, the AAP01 is one of those recommendations that I definitely make to you. Number one, because the performance is very good on it, the price is very good on it, but it also fires full auto, which for a pistol, is it that relevant? Probably not. But having that is pretty cool to me. So this actually is my customized one, guys. So this is my custom build. I've actually built a few of these, and I've got one here actually just to compare and kind of show you a different style of thing that you can do. But I am probably going to make a video on that one later. So really the topic of conversation is this. Now, this is something I haven't really used in games. I have to be completely honest with you. I kind of, when I designed or built this, it was like, hey, I like this design because it's kind of cool, but it is a bit ridiculous looking if you ask me. The suppressor is actually probably longer than the actual body of the replica itself. So it kind of felt a bit like, oh, cool, look at this, silenced kind of little pistol that I've got. But it is a different looking design, and more what I like with this is actually the performance on it, or the upgrades that I've done to it actually increase the performance or make this thing a lot better than it would be out of the box. So what I'm going to do, guys, is quickly just go over this. I'm going to tell you first of all what I've done on the externals and what you can see that is different from what it looks like when you first get it, and the reasons that I've done those things, and actually the cost of what it did take to basically put this thing together. I am going to tell you what I've done internally as well. The difference is that I can't actually open it up to show you guys. I'll try and kind of give you a little peek, for instance, this little bolt here through the window, but if I start opening it up, YouTube seems to have an issue with that. So I'm going to talk through the upgrades and kind of what they're going to do, but I'm not actually going to open it for you. So as I said, this thing is $100 out of the box. It's something great. If you just wanted to get that and you just thought, you know what, I'm just going to use it as it is, it absolutely works great. So don't kind of think, look, wow, if I'm going to get it, I have to do what he's done to this. You definitely don't. The cost I said is $100, which is where this kind of gets ridiculous, because I've spent far more on the attachments on this than the actual replica itself. So you can do a whole load of different things with this. It's kind of like your High Capper, as I was saying. There is so many different options for uppers, for lowers, for triggers, for barrels. Any kind of little attachment you can think of, you can do to this, which means that you can take this and make it as personalized as you want. But how I decided to do it was this, as you've probably seen in some of my other videos, is my favorite red dot or micro red dot sight. It is the Trijicon SRO. It actually isn't real, this one. So as I normally say, hey, I normally buy real steel sights. This actually is a fake one. So I'll kind of give you an idea of what this looks like. And actually what will be quite good with this is just showing you guys the difference. If you go back and watch my video on my custom Glock 45, you can see how good the SRO is on that. This is a replica, and instead of being $400, $500, this one is $75. So still expensive, but you can get these in quite a lot of stores. So as you can probably tell there, it actually looks really good on this camera. But the issues that I have, like trying to line this up is pretty hard. The issues that I have is when it gets to the edges, you can kind of see it's like dark red, light red. when it gets towards the edges of the window, it actually starts to distort. So you can probably see it a little bit there. But it's not the same clear picture that you get with a reel, and it kind of like, yeah, it loses its shape. It kind of becomes oblong when it gets to the edges. So this works, and for airsoft it's great, but compared to a real Trijicon, it's not even close. So if you want to spend the money, great. This actually looks almost identical to a real one. You can probably see here, it's got the Trijicon trades on it. So, you know, if you want it to look real, you can definitely get ones. I think I got this one from eBay. So if you search Trijicon SRO Repro, you'll find one. I actually ended up putting a lens protector on here as well. That's $30. So this sight by itself, this red dot, is $100. So it basically equals what I paid for the actual replica itself. However, you know, this is actually on a Picatinny attachment. It's got an RMR base, so you can put it onto an RMR plate, which, yes, you're spending $100 on this entire thing, but you can put it onto any replica that you have. So, you know, maybe look at it that way. It's not exactly like this is fully $200 now. This is movable. Next thing obviously I had to do was to put this on here, which is the Picatinny Rail. This is just a polymer plastic one, and actually you can get them as just attachments that go on the top of this body. This one is $10, I think, so very cheap. You really don't need a metal rail to go on there. It's actually, you know, it feels solid. If it was real, if it had real recoil, obviously like a real steel pistol, definitely don't use a polymer Picatinny rail. But for me, it does what it needs to. Falling off the table, does what it needs to. That was $10. That's great. What a lot of people do actually, and I'll show you on my other one, is you change out the upper. You can kind of get CNC'd aluminium ones of these. You can get, you know, other like things that look completely different. I actually, with this one, decided just to stay with the upper that it comes with. It really is great. You know, the polymer quality is really good. You can get this in black as well if you want to do that. But for what I was doing for it, it really didn't need to be changed, and it probably adds more weight if you're turning it to metal. However, you do have that option, guys. Again, it's going to be, you know, $50 to probably $150 to do that. So if you want to do it, great. I don't think it's really going to add much to the performance. So with this one, I tried to keep it kind of light, compact, not really, but I decided to keep the upper as it was, so that's just something to mention. Another thing I've done is put the Talon grips on here. Again, if you've watched some of my other videos, I'm obsessed with these things. You can get them on eBay. This actually is for the Glock 17, so it's not really a Glock grip this. It kind of is a similar feeling to how it is, and it has a lot of like texture on it, so it's not ideal for doing this, but what I did find is it fits. So I kind of fit it to here. You have to do your kind of heat gun just to seal it. It's actually got gaps here, which obviously in your, that's where the Glock symbol would be kind of on the actual Glock normally. These little things, I just cut them out with a little scalpel knife, a razor, and that was easy to do. But I just feel like the feeling of this, I've said before, it's kind of like skateboard tape, you know, the surface of a skateboard, where it's grippy enough. When you've got gloves on, it's amazing, and it's super comfortable. So I ended up doing that. Those are $20, really worth it. If you don't like it, you can peel it off. I've said that before in other videos. That's one of the other things I've done. The other thing, which you can probably see here, is this is a Hive suppressor. I don't know if I was doing it again, I would go for such a large suppressor. I would probably go for something smaller. However, there is a reason that I went for this length, and I will discuss that when we go through the internals. But this is a Hive suppressor. You may like the look of it, but you may not. You can get it in black. I think you can get them in grey. You can get varying lengths of these. I got this from Evike, and this one is $45. I think they go up to about $65, $70, just depending on size and what the look is. And then the other thing that I have done as well on this is the extended mag release. So normally it's just the button that you can kind of see underneath this metal plate. The plate just bolts on. It's very easy, just screw it on there, and that is $35. Not worth it, in my opinion. If I was doing this, you can easily push the mag release catch on this without needing that at all. So if you want to put it on, great, but for $35, I would say that's really, really not worth it at all. Right, so the next things we have done is this normally is a polymer bolt right in here. It's normally just solid. It kind of looks the same material as this, just black or gray. And it is a great bolt. It's lightweight. It seems to wear really well because it's all kind of quite well-built polymer internals. But what you can do is get one of these. Now this is the CTM Tac Advanced Bolt. I think they do an Advanced 2 now, which is even better. But it basically is kind of skeletonized. This is CNC'd aluminium. So, you know, it's going to be hopefully more hard wearing. The actual movement of it is a lot quicker. You can kind of put like a stronger spring in here. So then the actual rate of fire and the snappiness of it is higher. So I ended up doing that. I don't think you necessarily have to do it, but it is something that you can do. And there are other variants of this as well. You can get tons of different versions of the bolt. I'll kind of show you there what it's like. I've got a really, really strong spring in here as well. I can't remember which spring it is, but there's a nozzle return spring and the actual slide spring there. I've got a very, very strong one in there just to increase the rate of fire. Other thing that I have done, which I really, really like and I would really recommend, is this. I've done it on some of my other pistols, especially Glocks. This really is, in most ways, it doesn't look like a Glock, but a lot of the internal parts are Glock compatible. For instance, it uses Glock magazines. These magazines are the AAP-01 magazine, slightly cheaper than your Elite Force Umarex. I think they're $35, so still expensive, 22 rounds. But these will fit in a Glock. Glock magazines will fit into here. That's the 17 full-size Glock mags. But a lot of the internals, the nozzles, etc., are kind of Glock, like they're Glock compatible. So again, that's another great thing about this, is you can kind of take Glock parts. So this trigger works on Glocks, most Glocks. You can kind of look it up, but it works on that and it works on the AAP01. This is made by TTI. And the reason I really like it is because it's adjustable. It's a flat trigger. I just like flat triggers. I don't like the curve as much. I like just being able to feel that is on my finger there. It's got some really nice edges to it as well. So for me, again, I prefer it to something that's more comfortable. I just like knowing that my finger's on the trigger. It's got this, I don't know if you can see there. I'll try and get you a bit more light in there. It's got kind of like a rough texture to the top as well, again, so your finger's not slipping off it. But this is made by TTI. It's called their Adjustable CNC Trigger. That's $25. And the main reason I like it is because of that adjustable part. It's got a grub screw, which you can see that gap just there. And you can use an Allen key just to basically kind of tighten up the grub screw. And what that does is it makes the trigger come back closer and closer to the rear of your trigger well, or your trigger guard. So that means that when I cock this, it's like your Glock where the trigger comes forward, but you can see the movement on that was nothing. And so if I pull this with my finger, that is where the trigger pull is. So there is no take up. It literally is on the wall right there. And I just push, and that is the tiny, tiny movement that it has just to pull the trigger. So in terms of snappiness, this thing is probably the snappiest you can get it. Other thing as well is there's another screw right there, and that basically creates like a little backstop actually on the back of the trigger guard. So it just means it's going to return quicker. Don't think that has a big difference, but this, in terms of the performance, the trigger for me is probably the most important thing that I've changed. It's kind of annoying to install, but there are tons of videos out there you can just look at just to do that trigger install, so it's not as hard as you think. And because these are so customized, you know, there's so many videos taking this apart, putting different triggers in. It's an easy thing to do as long as you're kind of a little bit tech-minded, but I wouldn't worry if not. You can get it done. It's just don't lose springs, don't lose screws. So that's one thing that I've done there. As I said, I think that's the best one. These AAP01 magazines, as I mentioned, they're 22 rounds, so not a huge amount of capacity. You know, they're not bad. 22 rounds is fine, especially for a secondary, but this thing does full auto. And if you've got full auto, especially at the speed this is firing at, which I'll show you in a minute, if it's firing at that speed, 22 rounds goes like that. So you can also run the Glock 18 extended mags in here. They're around $50, 50 rounds in those. I find those too cumbersome. It'll probably make this thing look like a bit of like a Frisbee or something. you know, with that kind of proportions. Again, it's kind of cool. But the one thing I have done with this, or with some of my other AAP01 builds, which I really think is great, is an HPA adapter. So you can get an HPA adapter that's a Glock HPA adapter. It will just go in the bottom here, and then you can have different kind of magazine adapting, a different thing to adapt different magazines into it. What I actually normally do is I've got mini MP5 mags. So those hold around 35, 40 rounds. Maybe more than that. And I can basically just pop those in. I can carry those and tons of them really easily. So it basically allows me to have unlimited air with a gas tank, an HPA gas tank, and then I've got a lot of BBs, kind of light little MP5 mags that I can use. So an HPA adapter, especially if you're using this full auto, I think is something you may want to consider. And that's going to set you back less than these, which break. I've actually got one here, which I'm going to put some BBs in so you can see the feeding on that. But the actual valve on that's gone, so it's hissing, which is kind of annoying. The other thing that I have done is, the reason that I put this Hive suppressor on is because inside I've actually got a much longer barrel than what comes with it. This is actually, I believe, it's a 6.03 millimeter barrel. I can't think of the length, it's 200 and something. But basically the barrel goes the entire way along here, which is going to kind of improve consistency. It increases the FPS a little bit, and accuracy is better with that. So it almost allows me to have like a pistol, which has got like a PDW to rifle style inner barrel, and I can fire full auto with it. So you're taking this, you're taking like a gas blowback rifle and you're condensing it into this, and the lightweight kind of nature of it, it's cool. It works really well. Again, I find this cumbersome, so I haven't really used this that much in games. But, you know, if you're wanting to do something, you've got it with a suppressor. That means you can put that in a barrel into it. You can get versions which have traces in them as well, so you may want to do that instead. But I put a 6.03 millimeter Prometheus in there. CowCow AAP01 nozzle. So that little air nozzle, the yellow one there, that is different to the one that it comes with. Again, I think it's just more hard wearing, gives you a bit more consistency and just performance in the actual delivery of the air, pushing the BB through. So that's something I've changed. That one, sorry, the Prometheus barrel is about $60. The CowCow AAP01 nozzle, that's $19. And the last thing that I have done is I've changed out the hop-up bucking, which again, I don't think you need to do, but you probably will eventually if you're using it a lot. And there are better hop-up buckings. I use a maple leaf in this one, and that was $10. So again, it's stuff that if you watch videos on YouTube, I'll maybe try and do one eventually, but you can definitely find tons out there which will show you how to change each individual part of this. I haven't really changed the body, and that's where you can spend some serious money. You know, you can spend $200 to $500 just on a new lower, a new upper. It's like that high capper where someone has a high capper and by the end of it, there is barely any parts of it that are actually high capper worth. Oh, the other thing I've done is done some CTM internals as well. They're just like a reinforced steel. I forgot about that because I haven't opened it. Opening this thing's pretty easy. You just push this button here, you break it, and it's kind of like an AR in that way where it's got a front pin. You can kind of twist it, remove. Other thing as well, just to mention, is this bolt here. There's just a regular slide catch there, ambidextrous, so great to use. This is the safety. It's a bit of a weird safety. I never really put it on. You do actually have the normal Glock trigger when it comes, so you have that Glock safety where it's got the little piece that has to indent for you to pull the trigger. This one doesn't have that, so you should have this on safe. I rarely use it. Sorry, that's a bad admission to make. This is what's cool. It's a similar thing to actually what's on the stock one. This little red tab here, you can kind of switch it from one side to the other. That's semi-auto, that switches it to full auto. You can see it moving inside there. And normally you just have the catch, but it's under here. It's like a little plastic catch. I think this is much better. You can tell which it's on because there's actually 3 dots. It's hard to see, 3 dots right there. There's 1 dot right here on this side. So you can tell semi or full auto. But again, that's something that I've done, and I think that's really cool. You can see CTM just on the side there. So those are the upgrades that I've done, guys. Obviously, you can tell I've spent probably 2 to 3 times more money on the actual replica than what it comes like. And I'll show you just the performance of this now. I'll try and get a stock one up at some point so you can see how that compares. But this is, I'll show you the semi-auto and how snappy it is without BBs coming out of it. So this is kind of great. Obviously I've got the slide hold back there. I'm going to release that, and then I'll show you, actually I'll do it here because I haven't got any rounds in it. That's right, okay, cool. So I'll show you here quickly just what that's like. It's probably so fast you can't see it on there. And then this is full auto. So this is going to be a blur. That's the rate of fire that you're dealing with. So as you can imagine, if you've got a 22 round mag, it's kind of not usable. You know, you're not actually going to be realistically using it. And what I would say with those mags as well is that you can have feeding issues. So it's almost like a kind of an issue you can create. You can be like, hey, I want an even faster feeding. HPA, the adapter should feed it pretty quickly, depending on kind of the mags you're using to feed the adapter. But with these gas mags, the mags are going to get colder. You can get little jams and issues. So try and get it as fast as you want if that's what you're trying to do, but just be aware you can cause more issues by trying to make it too fast. I'll show you, this thing was actually firing pretty well earlier, but I'll show you just kind of what that is like firing BBs into my little target here. And you can kind of get an idea just of how it is, how snappy it is with the semi and then the full auto, and if it actually feeds. It did feed before, but I definitely have had some jammed BBs in this, so we'll see if that is an issue that comes. This is this mag that's leaking. You may be able to hear a slight hissing. I was going to go and change this for another one, but I thought, I can't be bothered. I'll just film this and you guys can kind of actually see the downsides of some of these magazines and running a gas blowback pistol. This should be okay. If you leave it up like this and you fill it, a lot of the times it'll actually resolve itself. The silicon in the green gas will just push itself up and re-lubricate the O-ring that's leaking, or alternatively change the O-ring or put some silicon in there and it should sort itself. I just haven't used this mag for a long time. I generally don't use the AAP01s on my regular Glocks. So this one has got BBs in it. I'm going to put on my Pit Viper video done on the channel. Very, very cool safety glasses. I'm going to chamber the BB there. So that's in there. And we've got it on semi. So this is it firing semi. So you can see it's kind of like, it's very, very, very fun to fire. I'll put a bit more gas in this just so then we make sure we don't end the full auto, but it's incredibly snappy. And actually the other one I'm going to show you now, I've got the same trigger on it, and I use it with an HPA adapter, and it's just so satisfying. Okay, so that's me switching it to the full auto right there, and what we're going to do is go, so you can see there I had a feeding issue, and again I had a split BB. That's that last one, so we get bolt hold back. But just so you're aware, if you have it firing too fast like that, it can do that. And I think that might have been because the mag was a bit cold just from using it semi. But that is something that can happen. But obviously, if you're firing that fast, the mag is not going to last very long. Okay, guys, so to finish up, I am just going to show you this, which is actually the one that I use a lot more often. It's kind of like my carbine version of it. I don't know, but I just really like how this feels. It is super, super light. This is an Olight red dot. This is a charging case. I'm going to do a video on this as well. But I'll just have like a red dot out the front. Again, I'll try and show you the red dot, the green dot, sorry. You can see it there. And I've got M-Lock up front. This is, again, you can buy this as an attachment. I think this is about $160. This, as you can see, my upper is different here, with like a little attachment for the actual stock. That's probably like another $150 just for that. And then this, I believe, is about $40, $50, which is actually made by AAP01. It's a folding stock. So you can kind of take, it is definitely bigger than this, but this with an HPA adapter in it, literally I'll just have an HPA adapter with little MP5 mags here, and it's just boom, boom, boom. I've got a charging handle on this one as well. I'm going to do a separate video on this one, guys, because it is my favorite. But I've got the green dot super far up, actually like far up, so I can kind of almost use it like a shotgun. The amount of fun kills that I've got with this is unbelievable. I actually got a different HPA adapter from AirTac as well, which will take shotgun shells. That's super fun because it keeps it flat on here, and I can just put little shotgun shells in there. Again, I think that's 30 round little shotgun shells. It's kind of great. The MP5 ones, sorry, are 100. So shotgun shells in there. Carrying them is obviously not mag pouches, but you can just get a dump pouch, fill them with these shotgun shells, and it's super fun. But so light. This platform is pretty awesome. This has been my review. This has been my review. That's why you don't get the extended mag selector, mag catch. This has been my review of this one, which is probably about $400 total with the sight. I hope you guys like it. I hope you can give me some feedback just on what you liked, what you didn't like, or if you've done some different stuff on yours, definitely let me know that as well. Have a great day, guys, wherever you are, and I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye.